Ceramic tile installs can seem like a very intimidating project, but with these simple steps, it's a lot easier than you think. I'm Maynard with First and Foremost, so let's get in there and make it happen, Captain. So first and most important step was to make sure the entire floor was completely clean of all dust and debris. If you're doing a demo install, just demo all down to the subfloor and then start from there, clean and get rid of all debris. Now we had the guys kind of work ahead of us a little bit, so we had them dry run all the Durarock and put it in place for where it was going to be installed. So it'll make it a little easier on me now just to pull the sheet that is already cut and fits exactly where I need it to go. And we are going to add a layer of thin set directly to the subfloor and place our Durarock into that thin set before we screw it down. You know, ceramic tile is a great way to add value to your current home and also provides a really, really nice look. It's the most durable of all the flooring that you can install in your home. It's waterproof, you can mop it, it's great for bathrooms, kitchens, has a really fabulous look. And in our case today, we're going to be using porcelain. To accomplish the cuts on the Durarock itself, you have a couple of options there. You can buy a ceramic tipped blade for either your skill saw or your table saw, which would not be very easy. But we actually, to keep dust down and to make it simpler, just scored it over and over again with our razor knife, like I said, to keep the dust down and to help out a lot with all the cleanup. You can't just dump down your thin set and just place the sheet back in. You actually need to get some thin set on the floor, and you know that notice that these trowels have grooves in them. And what they do, it'll allow the air to get in between there. And as you push it down, like I said, it'll grab it, create that suction so that it doesn't move while the thin set cures. So you want to hold your spatula at a very consistent angle so that most of your grooves, or all of your grooves rather, are at the same depth. So I hold my trowel at about a 45-degree angle, and I try to keep that same consistent pattern throughout the application. There we go. We'll lay this down as so. Hopefully it still fits. Oh, that's real nice. And that will create that suction and have us adhere to the floor. Now we'll screw this off in a very, very, very tight pattern. You want to go about 3 inches around all of the perimeter. And then in the field, approximately 12 to 16 inches apart, you want to space those screws about 5 or 6 inches apiece. A good buddy of mine told me, when you install the screws and you think you're done, add a couple more. So that's what we're going to do. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, we're just going to point it down first. You don't want to screw too close to the edges because it'll just break and shatter the Durarock. So I like to stay about 1 inch away from the perimeter at the least. We're going to space these screws out like we said earlier. about 3 inches around the edges. In the field, we'll probably go about every 12 to 16 inches, and we'll do them about 6 inches apart. You know, we want this to be one adhesive unit. We do not want any movement whatsoever. Sorry for the audio. If you've made it this far through the video, I greatly appreciate you. We have been getting over a cold for about 2 weeks, but we're trying to fight through it to bring you some of this DIY content. Three down, 1 to go. One thing I find with, you know, and this is from my perspective as a builder, and it, you know, and it's not really fair sometimes, but for situations like this with the easy floor install, I would just much rather do it myself, because if I have to subcontract this out, I'll pay, you know, thousands of dollars, at least $1,000, $1,500 for. You're pretty good, ain't you, Chip? Yeah. And you know, when I could just sit here and spend $450, $500 and do it myself. And then I feel like sometimes I might care about the final outcome a little bit more than, say, most of the subcontractors that I run into, which is really sad, but sometimes it's true. There are a lot of good subcontractors out there, and when I do find them, I try to hold on to them and use them as much as possible. This is gonna be a little tricky piece here, Chip. Yeah, you give me. I'm gonna try to give you this corner over here. And we're gonna kinda have to go in like this. And somewhat down at the same time. It should work out pretty good. We're almost there. One thing you want to make sure that you're doing is not over screwing the screws. Just let that head capture it and get flushed down with the Durarock itself. If you puncture all the way through, the screw is not doing anything at that point.
Yeah, I wouldn't wear them if I had to. I'm a Vegas Raiders fan. It's just, it's something you don't do.
You know, we're all apt to make bad decisions every now and again.
Right.
And if he chooses that, it's his perfect right to do that. But whenever he's ready to come over to a real team, these little Crocs will be waiting on him.
Ask him how many Super Bowls he's got.
So now that we have our Durarock completely set and thin set and screwed down properly, we're gonna place a small layer of thin set across the seams. And this doesn't have to be real wide. And we're gonna apply a seam tape to the seams themselves to kind of join the two sheets together and just create a little bit of extra strength there. We'll scrape all of that off because we don't want to create any difference in our levels when we go to set the thin set for our tile install. Heck yeah, baby. All right, so the Durarock install went great and we're all screwed off. The seam tape is applied, so we'll let that cure for a little bit. We'll take a little break, and when we get back, as long as it's all dried up, we'll start the tile install. So as always, guys, if you enjoy the content or find any value in it at all, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, we're back from lunch. We brought up some of our tile, and I haven't been able to take a peek at it yet since I bought it at the store. Can't quite remember what it looks like. We're gonna open it up right here so we can get started rolling on this tile. Oh yeah. Why do they got these numbers on there? That's gonna look really good. So we're gonna do a staggered pattern like this right here. And not to have a super big grout line, we're actually gonna be using a 3/16 inch spacer in between the pieces of ceramic. I'm excited to get started, so let's get rolling. Very similarly to how we installed the thin set underneath the Durock, we're gonna do the same thing here, albeit not as much thin set at one time. So I'll run a couple rows out and come this way as well, so I can run 2 or 3 pieces. The main objective is to make sure that we have one thickness of thin set, not a 1/2 inch over here, a 1/4 inch over here. Make sure you hold this knife at a very consistent angle. The main thing is with the thin set is you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. This is a product that is setting up or curing as soon as you mix it together. So you don't want to overextend yourself past the point of where you can reach before it gets too hard. So we're going to install this tile in a staggered pattern. So I'm going to use 3 rows, which will start with 1 whole sheet, which is 24 inches long. I will cut 8 inches off of the next piece, use the 16-inch side with the cut towards the exterior wall, and the 8-inch piece that falls off will be the 3rd step. Now we will work that in succession, and we'll cut our finish outs as they come about. Now there is another option. You could run this whole piece here, and then break the very next row in the exact center, and then again on the 3rd row just copy this, which would be more like a brick paver style. But being that we want our ceramic here to look like our LVT flooring and look like wood, but with this quality and insurance of ceramic, we're gonna keep it with a staggered pattern. I think it'll match up with the rest of the house a lot better. We're gonna put 2 spacers on every joint to make sure that they're all lined up very, very well. Now what I don't like to do is I like to butt it right up against there and then lay it down. I don't like a whole lot of thin set, and then I'll pull it away just like so, because I don't want a whole lot of thin set sticking up through our grooves, because once that gets hard, it's a completely different color than the grout that I've chosen. So if you have a bunch of thin set in between your pieces, you'll be scraping that for hours before you can even install the grout. You really be trying to be cognizant here, because I don't do this every day, but I really want my tiles at the same level so we don't feel any difference in heights when we walk with bare feet. Don't want to create any shadows by one tile being taller than the other. So really taking our time and making sure these things are nice and flat, sucked into the thin set, but not super pressed down on either side. I like it. Oh, look at you with your circle, huh? And the reason I like to push the tile in, touching to the other tile before I lay it down equally this way, is because when you do that, it creates a suction. So then I barely have to pull it with my hand, and when I go to install or release the ceramic, it'll kind of push itself back against the previous sheet, holding me really nice and tight. Hard part's over. It's just cut and rip away. If you do have a cut or a ripped edge, it's always nice to put that portion towards the wall. In our case, where it's going to get covered up by the quarter round, we keep those nice smooth factory edges out here in the middle where our feet are going to be going. The grout is not actually filled all the way to the top of the tile. So if you did have that little sharp edge right there, you'd be able to feel it with your feet. So if you have a little shard or something you might not be able to see right away, always good to put that in a spot that's never going to be usable, i.e. the base trim or in the back or front where it'll be covered up by the threshold. Last little bit, baby. Made it through that bathroom, that's what I'm talking about. We are on the home stretch for real this time. All right, so when we transition from ceramic to carpet or any type of flooring from one side of the door to the other, the best place to transfer is in the exact center of the door when it is closed. That way, while the door is closed and you're looking inside of this room, you'll only see this room's flooring, and vice versa. If you're in that room and the door's closed, you will only see that flooring. At that point, your threshold will be lined up exactly here in the center. So we'll stay back from that probably about 3/8 of an inch or 1/2 inch so we can install our threshold there. But definitely want the threshold and to stop your two different floorings in the center of the doorway. And there we go. The last piece is in. That install went very well. And I hope that showed you how easy installing your own ceramic tile floor can be. And until next time, you guys have a great day.